UFC 314 Saturday night in Miami. Former champion Alexander Volkanovski facing Diego Lopes for the vacant UFC Featherweight Championship. Volkanovski has lost back-to-back fights for the first time in his career, fighting for the first time in over a year since losing the featherweight title to Ilia Topuria at UFC 298. Topuria later vacated the championship to move up to lightweight. And for more, welcome in CBS Sports combat analyst Brian Campbell. Alexander the Great Volkanovski looking to prove he's still great. Lopes coming in, competing in his first title fight, and one of the big storylines going in, Volkanovski's average fight time of 16 minutes and 54 seconds is the longest in UFC featherweight history. Lopes's average fight time of 6 minutes and 55 seconds, the shortest among active UFC featherweights. BC, does this give Volk a clear advantage having experience in those deep waters?
It just might, and the odds makers who have had this, a virtual pick'em throughout, have had Volkanovski as the slight favorite, and a lot of it is due to that experience. Look, he ripped off a 12-fight win streak to open up his legendary UFC career, and while we can certainly focus on the 3 defeats in his last 4 fights, and especially those back-to-back knockout losses to Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, they're also the 2 best fighters in the world, and as you mentioned, Topuria has since moved up in weight. The problem here for Volkanovski is he's 36 years old, and at welterweight and below, there's not a great history of fighters at this age winning big fights or, in this case, regaining their title. But he will have a clear skill advantage against Lopes, a clear experience advantage, as you mentioned, and it might just come down to this fact. Does Volkanovski still have an elite chin? That is something that we'll probably find out within the first 2 rounds against the explosive and dangerous Lopes.
Volkanovski, 36-year-old, history not on his side, BC. Fighters 35 and older are 0-17 all-time in UFC title fights at 155 pounds and lighter. He's gonna have to make some history right there.
He really will. And believe me, if he wins a second world title in this weight class, you can make an argument for him as the greatest featherweight of all time, although you're going to upset a lot of Jose Aldo fans with that argument, although Volkanovski did beat Aldo head-to-head. But forget about the placement all time. This is about reminding everyone that he's still got it. There is a little bit of an asterisk around this losing streak that he's on, right? 2 of those 3 losses came against Makhachev at a higher weight class at 155 pounds, and one of those he accepted on short notice. This is not a situation where Volkanovski is taking a big risk. He had a huge camp. He's in what appears to be physically the best shape of his career. Now he has that huge opportunity to etch himself even further in the history books, because as he stands right now, I think he's one of the top 10 best and most accomplished fighters in UFC history. Yes, Alexander has really been that great, but like we keep reiterating, is he still that guy? We're going to find out in Miami and the main event of this absolutely loaded pay-per-view card.
Co-main event features former Bellator lightweight champ Michael Chandler against Pimblett, who's a perfect 6-0 in the UFC. BC, what's at stake here for Paddy the Baddy? Because he's had this meteoric rise now, and this is a massive fight for him.
This is to find out if he's for real, and that's no disrespect to his last 2 victories, which came against faded veterans and Tony Ferguson and King Green. But here's the deal, like, we're looking for star power right now in the UFC. There's a drought that we haven't seen in years for this great promotion. Paddy the Baddy could easily fill that, but it's a more mature Paddy here at 30 years old. If you've seen some of the pre-fight footage coming in, he's in the kind of physical shape we haven't seen before. And one thing Pimblett talked about, he turned 30, his wife recently gave birth to twins. He's got that newfound maturity where he said in the past, I really relied on my talent, and we know, if you're a UFC fan, how fat, yes, I said F-A-T, that Pimblett blows up between fights. Not for this fight. You are going to see the best version of Paddy Pimblett in the cage, and he's going to need it because this is a 5-round fight against a decorated action hero in Chandler. But if Paddy wins this, he may need only 1 more additional victory to get to a title fight. You may have people criticizing that he hasn't beaten killers along the way, but this is the right matchup at the right time for us all to find out. Is the chin elite? Is the gas tank? Is the complete game there for Pimblett? If he wins, superstardom. Yes, I said that. And big fights to come. This is his moment of truth.
Pimblett has won 4 of his 6 UFC fights via stoppage. Also on the main card, one of the greatest fighters in Bellator history, making his UFC debut. Former two-division champion Patricio Pitbull facing Yair Rodriguez in a featherweight bout. BC, what are your expectations for Pitbull in his UFC debut?
Yeah. 4th of July, come early, Hakeem. Anyone who's followed him in Bellator MMA as a two-division champion, the greatest fighter in that promotion's history, he brings it all the time. He has a complete game. Obviously, this is a 37-year-old version, though, of Pitbull, who also has quietly lost 2 of his last 3. I do think you'll see the best of what's left of Pitbull here. We know that fighters who have built their big names outside of the UFC, deep inside, they all have that hidden inner goal of one day stepping foot into the octagon. Pitbull will at least get that opportunity while he still has something. We don't know how much exactly, but at 32 years old, a former title challenger, a former interim champion, Yair Rodriguez should provide that stiff test. Rodriguez will have a size and reach advantage, but Pitbull can end the fight at any time with one single punch, particularly that leaping left hook that he offers. He's also a submission machine on the ground with a famed guillotine that he has taken out many big names. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's beaten Michael Chandler, beaten AJ McKee, beaten just about everybody he stepped foot in. He's a slight underdog matchup in this one, but I expect Pitbull to let it all go. We're going to see an exciting fight, and don't be surprised if Pitbull can win. He may find himself in a UFC title fight in his second appearance. That's crazy to think about, but we know Ilya Topuria moved up. We're going to have a new champion, of course, in the main event on Saturday night. Pitbull's got a prime opportunity to make the most of what he has left inside the UFC.
Pitbull holds Bellator records for most wins and title fight wins Saturday night, trying to earn a win in his UFC debut. Right now, you can read Brian Campbell's full UFC 314 preview on CBSSports.com, and BC will join us post-fight to break down UFC 314 here on CBS Sports HQ. Maybe another appearance from his cat. We'll see. We'll see if Reggie makes it, okay? Bring him on. He loves the limelight. Friendly reminder, UFC 314 from the Kaseya Center in Miami. Main card set to begin 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have full highlights and reaction here on CBS Sports HQ. And for more combat news and analysis, keep it locked on CBSSports.com.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
we're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
Find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.